Well, INEC has a case to answer. 165,000 ballot papers, not stamped, not signed, and not dated. This is a big problem. It's INEC that we need. It's a really big problem. I mean, I guess the case will definitely go to appeal, and then the Supreme Court. You know, the police has called for calm, but I wanted to read the governor's statement, which he posted on X last night. Well, he wrote, "My good people of Kano State, you would recall that on March 18th, 2023, you came out en masse and voted for me as your governor with a total votes of 1,019,602 and a margin of 128,897 votes between my humble self and second place. Subsequently, I was duly sworn in as your elected governor on May 29, 2023. You may also recall that the party that lost the election took us to court. However, after almost 6 months of proceedings at the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, today, Wednesday, September 20th, that was yesterday, the judges of the tribunal have in their own wisdom delivered their ruling. As human beings, their judgment may not be absolutely perfect. There were errors and misapplication of the law, as pointed out by our legal team. That is why our Constitution provides for other stages to go on, with such as the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. On this note, we have already instructed our legal team to appeal this judgment as soon as possible to ensure that justice is done. I therefore call on all the good people of Kano State to be calm and remain law-abiding. People should not take the law into their hands, and security agents have already been directed to ensure the full protection of lives and property of innocent citizens across the state. We want to assure you that this will neither dampen our spirit nor slow us down, as this is a temporary setback for our state, which we will overcome by the grace of Almighty Allah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you all. I mean, I think that this post on X was very reassuring for his supporters, who they actually trooped out. I mean, I saw some videos yesterday, the Kwankwasia movement, those with the red hats. I don't know if we have that video. They came out to the tribunal. I mean, a lot of people have said that this all boils down to INEC. I have another tweet, which I'll read in a bit. I'd like your comment quickly on this before I go to that tweet.
Yes, absolutely, OG. It's INEC. I believe that INEC is culpable in a number of these outcomes at the tribunal, especially where it involves the religion of duties. And we had a spokesperson of NNPP here earlier today, Mr. Ladko Johnson, who had spoken about the fact that INEC had signed off, they announced the results, and now the court is ruling that some of these ballot papers were not stamped. How can an electoral body charged with conducting elections have so many flaws in the processes, from pre-election matters to post-election matters, making it almost a waste of time for Nigerians who stood on the queue to obtain their PVCs, and then where different weather conditions stayed out to vote for their candidates, having emerged, and we find out due to technical reasons the election is nullified. It's heartbreaking for a number of people.
Technical reasons, Rufai. I saw your post on was it Instagram or Twitter? I'm not sure. Festus Okoye, where he was delivering that speech saying there was going to be the use of beavers and that the electronic transmission of results were mandatory. I mean, INEC dropped the ball here. This is completely unacceptable. If this is true, not one, not two, 165,000 votes, those polling unit officers did not sign. If this is true, unacceptable.
I mean, it's quite sad, owing to the fact that we spend billions, close to $1 billion, if not at the rate then, about $1 billion for this election. And this was what we got. Massive level of incompetence that INEC has not been able to come out to account for. All the judgments across board, INEC has not been able to come out to account for its massive level of incompetence.
Yes.
But with INEC, that's why we should go back to the Ways report, because a lot of reforms need to be done. The first one, the president must not be the one to select who is going to be INEC chief. We must go the way the Ways report wanted it, where you have an independent panel that can look through it and different representatives across board. Secondly, INEC must be rejigged. We need a lot of reforms that need to go into INEC. If we are going to have a separate commission for election offenses, let us have it.
Right.
We need to make our election system, our electionary, accountable. Thirdly, we need to go back to the National Assembly and be able to codify those guidelines. That INEC, that the discrepancy now is, the guidelines are not laws. We need to codify those guidelines, because when you look at it, those guidelines explain how those laws should be implemented.
Yes.
So we need to go back. So we can talk all we want and call out INEC. INEC already has their neck under the sand in shame now. But it's time for us to go back and be able to fix all of this, because this election was supposed to be one that will herald us into a new dispensation where you use technology. But with the beavers INEC touted and many vote rigging vaccines, nothing worked. It even looks as though the elections in 2015, when we first had the use of card reader, is even way better than this, because the elections, the litigation level was very low. In fact, one of the lowest in recent times. Yeah. In fact, that was the first presidential election that the loser did not challenge the winner. President Jonathan did not even bother challenging, because there was a certain level of transparency as regards that process.
Right. People are asking questions. Let me read one from Dr. Yakubu on Twitter. He wrote, I have these honest questions regarding today's Kano judgment and need only honest and objective answer. I understand that the tribunal has ordered the inspection of the used ballot papers, and they found that 165K ballot papers across the state were either not signed, stamped, dated, or both, which made them wasted. 1. Statistically, under normal circumstance, it is not possible that all those ballot papers belong to a particular candidate. 2. Where were the party agents at the polling unit ward level and local government level when the votes were inserted? Who inserted them? 3. Assuming 165K votes were deducted from NNPP, it will remain about 863K votes from them, while APC had 890K votes. However, the election had more than 70K votes cancelled due to overvoting, more than the difference between the votes scored by the two parties, 27K. Why wasn't it declared as inconclusive? I mean, I feel like this particular judgment might also just set a precedent, 165K votes. Dr. Abbas.
The thing to note is this. As for INEC, the presumption of regularity is on the side of INEC in all of these cases. There is also the doctrine of substantial compliance, which was one of the points made in the ruling of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. However, after every electoral cycle, Nigerians call for reforms. That should be the major outcome of this. We amend the laws again. We talk about reforms. We talk about how to strengthen the electoral framework. And I hope that at the end of all of this, when all of this is over by November 6th, particularly with the presidential election, then we'll be able to say, well, these are some lessons.
Yes.
And INEC too can sit down and make further representations, and the political parties as well. Second, as for Kano Tribunal, well, the matter is not over, as I've said earlier.
Yes.
It will still go to Court of Appeal. It will still go to Supreme Court. It's a good thing that the governor is appealing for calm, and every other party that may be associated with this, on all sides, including individuals whose ego may have been invested in this development, they should please conduct themselves in a peaceful manner and respect the rule of law. Now, the third point, Ladipo Johnson was here, and he said, they have grounds of appeal. That's for the courts to determine. The reference to the ballot paper must be signed, must be stamped, that's section 63 sub 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. If you go further to section 63 sub 2, which was what Ladipo Johnson was quoting, and I told him that, yes, he quoted correctly. He says that if in the booklet some of the ballot papers are not signed, but they come from the same source, if in the opinion of the returning officer, he thinks that, okay, this can be used, those ballot papers shall be used. They didn't say can. The lawmaker says shall, and in law shall is mandatory. But it's for their lawyers to go to Court of Appeal. The other issue they can address without doing their job for them is about membership of Abba Yusuf of the NMPP. You will recall also that in the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal case, that issue also came up with regard to Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. And that tribunal ruled that no, this was a pre-election matter and it's not something that the party, the court wanted to inquire into. So these are some of the issues that may come up and from which all of us can learn lessons and our jurisprudence can be deepened.
Well said, Dr. Abati. Well, you know, the victory of the APC Guba candidate is coming as the United States Court in Eastern Illinois ordered the Chicago State University to release the academic records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Atiku Abubakar, a U.S. magistrate judge, gave the ruling on Tuesday, ordering the university to produce all relevant and non-privileged documents to Atiku within 2 days. On August 2nd, Atiku filed an application requesting from the university the academic documents of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Atiku is challenging the authenticity of the Chicago State University diploma Tinubu presented to the INEC before the election. The former vice president argued that, among other things, a second Chicago State University diploma has since emerged, dated June 27, 1979, that bears the name Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but also presents with a different font, punctuation, seal, and signatures than the June 22, 1979 diploma, among other alleged discrepancies. We did discuss, Dr. Abati, you read out this statement right before we closed. We didn't have a time to discuss it, but I don't think there is much to say on this topic other than the fact that, I believe that Tinubu's counsel had said that, it was a clerical error that caused those punctuations and for the certificates to be different. And if you recall, on September 8th, the Chicago State University had responded to Atiku, saying that Tinubu attended the Chicago State University. The only thing that they could not verify was the authenticity of his diploma because they consider it a ceremonial document. So, I don't know what's going to come out of this, report. They have confirmed that he did go to the school. We just need to know, what the records say at the end of the day and to be sure that it is really a clerical error that caused those discrepancies on his certificate. Yes, well, that's what we're trying to find out. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Abati, with regards to new evidence presented at the Supreme Court, and what the understanding had been in terms of if they were extenuating and it was persuasive enough for the Supreme Court justices to consider it as part of the election matters, Atiku Abubakar has been quite dogged in his determination to ensure that he uncovers this whole certificate debacle that has been on since 1999. Right. And now Judge Jeffrey Gilbert has ruled that within 2 days they have to release the documents. Chicago State University had said that they were unwilling, or they didn't think it was important or instrumental or key to the petition or the evidence for the petition at the, in the first leg of the petitions, and so they felt it wasn't necessary to disclose any further information. But now they've been compelled by the courts and they'll have to obey, and we'll see if indeed it was a clerical error, innocent, or there are two certificates presented and then we have a case of perjury. Did you want to answer that question? Yeah, about the admittance.
Okay, look, I could spend 5 minutes on this. There is something in international civil litigation called forum. So will the forum apply here? Can the finding in a foreign court, can it apply within our own environment? So these are some of the issues that will come up. But what the Judge Gilbert was saying is that the discovery is for use. So that question is in relation to that. And that the person who has brought the matter is an interested person. But what is discovered in that foreign court, can it apply in a foreign jurisdiction? That's number one. Number two, the Supreme Court, the Apex Court, is not a court of evidence. It's the Apex Court, it's a policy court. So you don't go there and bring fresh evidence that you have not pleaded in the lower court. However, except you can prove exceptional circumstances. But the Supreme Court itself will have to accept those exceptional circumstances And of course, that will cause a lot of argument on this, or if that comes up. But the issue will be the relevance of that evidence. 2, the weight of it. 3, can it be admissible? And the questions will be, okay, why did the appellant not bring these issues up at the lower court? And then why is this material to the case? Will it, in any case, result in the miscarriage of justice? So these are some of the issues that could come up, but it's up to the apex court to determine. And that's why I think the people have been jubilating. We have caught him. We have caught him. Discovery. Do they even know what will be discovered? Right. Because the issue is about the discovery.
Right.
Okay, so what if it's of no probative value? That's the word. Right. If it's of no probative value, it will be of no moment. So that's why everybody should calm down and not, generate any foul play or begin to be sentimental and all of that. So nothing is already on the table yet. It may well be of no moment.
All right, 30 seconds.
I mean, see, the fact that this is even a matter of contention is how shocking things have gone in Nigeria. If somebody wants to lead Nigeria, should be able to get his documents out there, and the school should be able to provide the documents. Yeah, through a subpoena, now the court has been able to say they should give it to Atiku Abubakar. It should be no big deal. So, but the fact that this has raised brouhaha as regards, the background of somebody that is leading Nigeria, it is a big indication that we need to go out and look at ourselves once again in the mirror. This information is not supposed to be anything that is supposed to be of any big deal, that you want to authenticate and verify information and documents, about someone that is leading a country like Nigeria. So we'll wait for it to come out, and people will see, people analyze. Either ways, we don't know what's in the document and all of that. Let's just see how this pans out. But going forward, we must have a country where there is full disclosure on everything that surrounds anybody that's going to lead us.
All right.
Secondly, we also must have a country that we are able to stand tall as regards verification of whoever leads us. And we must upgrade the standard of who leads us.
I like that. Upgrade the standard of who leads us. I love that. Well, I'd like to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on what's trending. Well, that's all I have.